Well, hi everybody. It's Kylie Smiley. I'm here today bringing you some very, very interesting information. Actually, something a little bit different, but something I think is really very, very important. And certainly, we all try. I know we all try very hard when we've got children to be as patient and understanding and compassionate and all those things that you would, hope that they would see in you, other than the frustration and the anger and the anxiety that sometimes we bring on ourselves, and it feels like they've brought it to us. Um, but recently, I've met a beautiful lady who has an abundance of experience as an educator and teacher, but does things in a little bit of a different way, where it's all about embracing virtues. And funny enough, she's actually created a product and a business around embracing virtues. And I just think it's absolutely fantastic because so often when you're running a business and you have children, time is of the essence, and you're often time poor, and that does lead to us making split decisions that may not be in the best interest of ourselves or our children. And I thought it'd be good to have a chat with Di. In fact, she's called it Chai Chats with Di. Yay! I can't believe I got that right. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Di on to say hello and to just give us a little overview of her background and why she's embracing virtues this way. So, welcome, Di.
Hello, Kylie. Thank you very much. Lovely to chat with you.
You're welcome. And so, Di, I would like to. What I might do first, actually, is just read one of the virtues so people get an understanding of what we're sort of talking about. And forgive me if I stumble or if it's wrong, but I'm actually reading it from Di's. I don't know if you can see that properly. Di's beautiful illustration. Di is a master at beautiful images, and this is about respect. And this is just a brief intro. We show respect by speaking and acting with courtesy. We treat others with dignity and honour, the rules of our family, school and nation. Respect yourself and others will respect you. It's just beautiful. And on the back, there's ways to be respectful. So Di, sorry, I took the stage again after I introduced you. So please tell us about Embrace Virtue.
Well, Kylie, those beautiful definitions of the virtues were developed about 25 years ago by a Canadian lady called Linda Popoff, and I believe they're inspired, and they offer such a tool for parents and teachers, because I don't know any parent actually. In all my years of being an educator, and I was the founding director of the Family Action Centre at the University of Newcastle, where we worked with hundreds and hundreds of families. I have never met a parent who didn't want their child to be a successful human being. That means grow up with those qualities of self-confidence, self-control, and, as you've already nominated, respect and compassion and love and gentleness, creativity, so that they approach life with the capacity to have creative problem solving. And so this is what parents want for their children. This is what every human being, in fact, is born with, all of these qualities within them. And but I think with the busyness of our lives, and you've already alluded to that, it's easy to kind of gloss over it and maybe refer to it obliquely, like, oh, I need you to be patient. But we don't actually go into exactly what does patience mean for the child, and how do we develop that quality and have that child's character develop with a clear knowledge and knowing of what patience looks like, feels like, and that they can call on it when it's needed. So for me, it's the passion and the vision about this is I see our society going in a direction that none of us are very comfortable with. And when we look at the level of mass starvation and poverty and the violence and war and bloodshed, and we see children being educated to with firearms, to use firearms, we see things that can be, it can have us feel overwhelmed and wonder, is there anything we can do to stop this kind of negative spiral that society seems to be in? And so I think that the big hopeful thing about this virtues education or character education is that it's something every one of us can do in small ways every day. So the question for adults, for carers, educators and parents is to really become familiar with all of these virtues. And by the way, there's over 1,000 of them, but we do it in small chunks, and our set of virtues cards has 26 basic virtues that we want every child to really understand at a deep level. So when we say to a child, look, I need you to be gentle right now, we go beyond just using the word, though that's very important, and we say what gentleness really means. And gentleness means, and I truly love this definition, I think it is so powerful. It means moving wisely, touching softly, holding carefully, speaking quietly, and thinking kindly. Now, if we say to a child in an impatient voice, look, I want you to be patient, will you please just be patient? We're sort of giving a double mixed message there, aren't we? You know, we're using an impatient tone. We're actually being a little bit impatient in our behaviour, but we're asking the child to be patient without that deeper understanding of what it means. But if we can say, look, that means I need you to think kindly right now of your sister, your brother, or of your mother. I need you to speak quietly. That's being gentle. You know, I need you to hold this little kitten really carefully, and I need you to touch it softly. Do you see that that's a very different scenario?
Absolutely, that's beautiful, and certainly those sorts of tools are vital for, as you said, today's world, and you know, children are learning about what words mean. Especially, I know my son, he's 9.5, but he's very curious and he's very happy to understand, oh, you know what, when a word is said in a certain tone or a certain way, there's other ways to say things that would give you, have people give you the things that you're looking for, rather than a shocked response or a negative response or an angry response. And being able to teach them that early on, I think it sets them up for in the right direction going forward, and it really helps the adults as well learn new skills, because the way we were spoken with as well, I mean, most of us weren't spoken with all the virtues in mind all the time, which is just, it's part of being human. We all make mistakes and we all say things we regret and all those sorts of things. But I think having these tools, as you said, just that gentleness, or just to practice not being so impatient, to describe it the way you have, it makes so much more sense to them. You're absolutely right. And I was just reading a couple more for respect, and again, that, so often I speak with parents who tell me, oh, Ellie, they just have lack of respect, and the teachers tell me, oh, I just don't understand why they don't have any respect. Well, it's because of lots of things, but predominantly it's a taught thing. It's if they're also given, they understand they have respect for themselves, then, as I mentioned in the beginning, that they will, people will automatically have respect for you. So this one says, you're practicing respect when you speak courteously to everyone. You take special care of the belongings of others, You are receptive to the wisdom of others. You honour the rules of your family, school, and nation, and expect respect for your body and your rights, and you treat others with dignity. So
Mm.
it seems
So,
really simple. Sorry, go
it's so,
ahead.
I mean, I think our whole society is losing this focus of mutual respect, respect for each other, respect for ourselves, and it's no one will bring it back unless we do as adults, parents and educators and teachers. So it's a really big responsibility. But what these cards and these definitions do, Kylie, is give parents a tool to fall back on so that when we're confronted with a lack of respect, um, we've got something to call forth in the children. So and virtues education is never punitive. It's never about punishing, shaming, blaming. It's
Right.
all an educative process. And of course, the first step of that is to educate ourselves so that we can bring to mind or to our words, to our communication, the appropriate virtue that happens to be either missing in the child's behaviour and call it forth. So when we see a lack of gentleness, a lack of respect, a lack of courtesy, a lack of joyfulness, we can call for it and ask for the child, knowing that we can also help them understand what that looks like in their behaviour. And so part of this is a language exercise for ourselves to bring, it's a challenge, to bring the language of the virtues back into regular family life. I think if you cast your mind over your circle of colleagues, friends and acquaintances, it's entirely likely that most of them don't use these words in a daily context with their family. And so the words themselves are going out of fashion, if you like. And I think we need to, number one, bring them back into fashion so that they're the words that are spoken every day in a family situation or in relationships. Thank you for your courtesy. So that's the other aspect of it. Rather than waiting for children to not be using a virtue, our job is to notice when they are using it and to affirm them in that moment. And we call these teachable moments. And we're constantly watching for children who are playing respectfully with each other, courteously, generously, sharing with each other, and affirm them in the moment. And that's how we build character. That's how they make the connection between their behaviour and the name of the quality, and then they're developing this inner sense of they have that within them and it's there to call on at some future time when they need it.
Oh, that's fantastic, Di.
So affirming virtues in and in our partners as well, you know. Often when we work with parents doing character education and virtues work, and we talk about respect, they come to the sessions and the workshops in order to teach their children, learn how to teach their children. And then they have this kind of moment of recognition, oh, but my partner and I, or my husband and I, or my wife and I, actually, we don't always use a respectful tone with each other. We are not always gentle in our communication with each other.
Yeah.
We are not always incredibly generous with each other, you know, and so they begin to we begin to change our own behaviour, and that's the beauty of working with the virtues all the time, because we're constantly mindful. I am constantly mindful of changing my own behaviour to be more careful about using each of the virtues.
Yes.
So is to notice and affirm virtues when we see it. So when you see Tate being a joyful, loving child, affirm him for his joyfulness, for his loving nature, and for his kindness or his generosity. And when you see something lacking, so, I mean, 9-year-old boys get boisterous, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's great. You know, it's good that they learn to be rough and tumble and do rough and tumble play and do it with respect and courtesy to the other person. But when you see it crossing a line where it's no longer careful and gentle, that's the opportunity. That's what we call a teachable moment to explain gentleness. Gentleness is holding carefully and thinking kindly about how this impacts the other person. And so it's a real challenge, I think, for parents to be constantly mindful of this stuff in a busy life. You know, we're always running here and there. We've always got lots and lots on, lots of time scheduling, and it's really easy to let this fundamental thing just slip out of the equation in our interactions with our children and our partners and our friends. Kylie, I'll just share this with you quickly. I have an amazing friend who's a therapist and an educator, and she does extraordinary work. She has a saying that she says, "I make every transaction, in other words, every interaction with another human being, a win-win." And I love that because I think that's kind of the path to world peace. And I think that virtues education, character education, is a way to help us do that. So in any interaction with any other person, in making it a win-win, we could ask ourselves, what virtue do I need to practice right now to make this a win-win situation? And sometimes it's patience, and sometimes it's more compassion, and sometimes it's empathy, and sometimes it's just, consideration for where they're at right now. But whatever it is, virtues are a constant tool and a useful reminder.
Yeah, no, they are. That's great. That's really good. No, I couldn't agree more, and I think that since I've received these as well, I can tell. I'm a lot more mindful. I'm a relatively. My mother taught me very well about just thinking about what your actions are going to do to others before they try and do that, before they happen.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to her for that. But I think having these within arm's reach as much as possible have just reminded me of that, because I remember my mother saying, "Are you being kind?" Just like, no. I think I better be kind.
Not just then, anyway.
Yeah, that's right. But and we all need a gentle reminder of things, and it's so funny to hear myself, and like everybody, you hear your mother's voice or your father's voice through yourself when you're talking to your own children. Then, so I developed this thing where I'd say to Tate, was that? Are you being kind? Are you being? Is that a kind thing to do? And no, I'm not being kind. And he'd be devastated. He wasn't kind.
See, Kylie, I think we did get these messages from our parents, and often it was not overt. It was not a conscious explanation of kindness, but at least we saw kind behaviour. Many children today actually don't see that in their family lives anymore. Many children don't see empathy. They don't develop empathy. They don't have that opportunity. And I think we've got this great opportunity to bring this back into family life and into the lives of children and schools. But it has to be done in perhaps a bit more structured way. Every single parent I know in my age group or younger says, "I wish I'd had this tool when my kids were little." And I'm the same. I really wish I had this tool when my children were little, because it's just that very, very beautiful, ever-present reminder and tool to have in the family. And so to choose a virtue a week and have the whole family participate is a lovely way to engage the kids in the process.
Absolutely. And certainly, schools really appreciate some interaction from parents a lot more these days, I feel. Sometimes, unfortunately, it can be it can be a struggle, it can be a challenge between the two. But I think that even, especially when you mention schools, to really involve your virtues in the virtue cards and how they do that is very interesting to me because of the absolute appears increase in bullying in schools.
Oh,
That's a direct reflection, I think, of where the state of things are at the moment and how desperately needed this sort of tool is in the school structure. And
that's
I
right.
don't. Yeah, I think that this could really make a huge difference, especially obviously starting out just at entry level, and preschool would be absolutely ideal, but just at, primary school, infants and primary school, starting the day out, with things like this. I know that in religious-based schools, they do start out with prayers already and things like that. But it doesn't have to be around an organised religion. It's just about being thoughtful from one human being to another, and all
That's
those.
right. And
Yeah.
schools, many schools have adopted the Virtues Project, Kylie, and they find that it changes very, very quickly, actually. It can
Mm.
change the culture of the whole school. And
Wow.
if you can build an entire curriculum around virtues work without putting any more pressure on teachers who already have a lot to fit in, because it kind of becomes the glue that binds everything together. And
Yeah.
to
Mm.
choose a virtue a week or even a virtue a fortnight in a school where the whole school studies that virtue, they listen to the definition. On the back of the card, it has little signs of success. You're practicing gentleness or respect when you and do behave in these sort of ways. And there's a
Yeah.
little affirmation on the back of the card. I am respectful. I honour the rules of our family,
Mm.
nation, and school. Da da da. I respect myself and I respect others, or whatever it says.
Yeah.
And children are taught what it actually means. The
Mm.
the little rewards in assembly for that week are given for respectful behaviour for children who've shown particular respect for their possessions, their school, their family, their rules, whatever. And and then the stories, the artwork, the literature, and so forth are chosen um, to also help talk about respect or whatever the virtue for the week is. So it
Mm.
becomes very, very powerful. And then what schools have found is that not only does bullying reduce in the playground and rough sort of unacceptable behaviour, but the entire culture of the school changes because the focus is now on the positive side. So you're not saying to children anymore, you don't be rough, stop doing that, that's not acceptable,
Yeah.
don't behave that way. You're saying we need you to be respectful, we need you to be generous with each other, we need you to be joyful, we need you to be creative. And
Yeah.
so the conversation changes and
Mm.
children are being educated, their characters are being educated in how we want them to be with each other and with us. So
Yeah.
it's a very, very powerful tool, and I'd love to see every single school, and like you say, particularly early childhood centres, because these are truly the places where children. We know now about the massive information that comes into the brain in the first 3 years of a child's life, and
Yeah.
so that's the golden window of opportunity to start educating their characters and teaching them these qualities.
Absolutely, absolutely, Diane. I would love to see that as well. I think it might be helpful to let people know some of the other virtues that are on the cards. And Diane has a slew of resources on her website, which is embracevirtues.com. And you got the AU as well, haven't you, Di? Not
Yes, just.com.
benefitgroup.com, isn't it? So, and here's, the ones that are interesting to me as well is purposefulness. That's a mouthful, but it says, I am purposeful. I am clear about what I am doing and why. I stay focused on my goals and I know I can accomplish great things. So that really hits home for me as an adult. And I embrace that because I need to really recite that to myself every day to, just that affirmation that you're on the right track, you just stick with it, keep going. And I think a lot of people who are in business on their own, I'm sure you'll agree with me, need, to have that. If you don't, you need to have that purposefulness. You need to stay focused. You need to have, set yourself aligned with your goals and all those sorts of things. And to have something like this to refer to is, when you don't have a crowd of people in your business.
Absolutely. I can tell you that you're so right. I mean, setting up the business was the secondary thing for me. The passion for virtues education was the primary thing. And then, of course, I found myself running a business, which I hadn't expected to do. So that's been very challenging. And on our Facebook page, we feature a virtue each month. So as I'm working with that virtue, I go deeper and deeper into it and notice how it impacts myself, how it impacts my attitude to running the business and taking on all these new challenges, which you know very well I'm coping with. Yeah. And, for example, last month it was determination. And
right.
I found it a complete journey for myself, even though I've been, using these cards for 20 years or more. I found that really strong focus on determination was such an empowering thing because, I realised that it's a critical piece of making a business successful. And the technology, Kylie, which you're helping me with very kindly, has been something that's required huge determination for me.
It is.
I'd much rather play all day with creating lovely resources than have to deal with some of the other aspects of running the business.
Well, hopefully this component, this is Di's first hangout, and as you know, I'm not doing this. I haven't done a million of these yet. That my goal is to at least get to 10 or so before the end of the year. But I'd love to be able to do this every week. But again, this is a tool that's another thing to learn and another challenge when your focus is really, part of your business, like Di, is to create beautiful visual tools for people to use. And not have to worry about, how many clicks you got or whatever it might be, and running a business. So, Di, you're doing a great job, by the way.
Kylie, can I just say that thanks to you and finding out about this amazing tool, I think it's a lovely way to spread the word around the world. And I'll be interviewing lots and lots of very, very highly skilled master facilitators in virtues work because they're highly trained. They're all over the world. Linda Popoff has done an amazing job creating this extraordinary network of people who have a lot to offer, parents and educators and carers and all of us, really. So I'm very grateful that you've had the patience to stay with me and figure this out. And
I'm very thankful.
I also hope to be doing lots and lots of interviews with very, very, very charismatic, highly skilled people. So, Kylie, thank you. Your patience and your persistence are amazing.
You're more than welcome, and believe me, I've been through a huge learning curve myself. So we'll get you, sorted with the wonderful guests that you're looking to interview as well. And I'm hoping, that I'll be able to help you make that really an easy, simple experience for you and your guests. And eventually it will. It's just like riding a bike, as they say. It's cliche, but it is a bit like that. But it's also the only thing is sometimes the pedals change size. That's
I've noticed that, but I'm counting on you to make it easy.
Well, try and make sure your feet fit in the pedals every time. So look, if you're a parent, or you don't have to be a parent, obviously, but certainly because we've been talking about children and what have you, if you're in a situation where you are around children in whatever capacity it might be, or you know of a school that has had some bullying issues, or some struggles with trying to mediate between parents and the school and things like that, and children who have certain challenges as well. Because we know that there's lots of challenges now with children that are born with ADHD and bipolar and all these psychological issues, perhaps, and they're dealing with divorces and all those sorts of things a lot more every day. And I just think that this is something you could certainly look into to give it a try. I mean, it's not, it seems so simple, but unless you start doing things to make it, to make the language in a school or in the surrounds or in your environment change, it really just takes one person. And I believe that these virtues are a great start in changing attitude, changing the way people treat each other, and if we can help by having it start when children are as young as possible, then it certainly looks, the future looks a lot brighter all around. And as Di mentioned, she has a lot of influence all over the world, and has a lot of case studies and certainly so much evidence that this is an option that works. And it's as simple as words and actions and things like that. So on that sweet note, Di, would you like to close off and say goodbye and let everybody know how they can reach you?
Yes, thank you, Kylie. It's been lovely chatting with you. And by the way, the research now about virtues education is very, very powerful, that it creates very successful children. So hopefully I'll be chatting with some people who can talk to us in depth about that from time to time. And we can be contacted on embracevirtues.com or di@embracevirtues.com.au. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Di. And Facebook as well. Embrace Virtues is on Facebook.
And Pinterest. We have a lot of fun on Pinterest.
Yeah, of course. With these beautiful illustrations. Actually, that's a great place to go to see the most gorgeous, oops, I'll put it on me there, the most beautiful, sorry for the glare, presentation and illustrations here of the cards and the other products that Di and actually her daughter also has helped her as well, and you'll be able to see them on their website. So join us again, and this is an unusual setting for me in respect to, it's not to do with mobile marketing particularly, but it all means better outcomes for everybody, no matter what tools you use in business and otherwise. So to me, this is a tool these are tools that I use every day in my business and at home, and I encourage you to as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to connect with myself or Di directly, and certainly look out for more chai chats with Di, and of course you can find me at mobilemarketinglink.com and on Facebook and Twitter, etc. And certainly here on Google+. Please share this with your friends and let us know what they think and what you think as well. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Bye for now.